Thanks for staying with us. Now, you could cultivate all the knowledge, skills, and values you need to make an exceptional impact on the world, but unless you get out and interact with other people, and you will never realize your full potential. Now, in our rapidly changing and challenging environment, we all need to be able to collaborate more effectively to adapt, learn, and maintain productivity. But collaboration doesn't just happen because we need it. It requires effective communication and connecting to a common goal. We've seen over time that countries that have the best economic growth are those that have good governance, and good governance comes from freedom of communication and people working hand in hand for the love of country. So how can we leverage the power of collaboration, communication, connection to build a new Nigeria? Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Why am I already smiling? Because some people say they will not answer me today, but I will still hear your views. Let me hear your thoughts. But so when I was trying to understudy this conversation, something came to my mind. I do not even think there's any end in sight or any hope for a new Nigeria. Why? Because, first of all, if you say that collaborations, connections, and communication, everything, the reason the collaboration would work is because there's a common goal. What is the common goal for today that we know that this is what we're pushing for the new Nigeria? What's that common, the Nigerian dream or whatever it is that we have? We don't have it. So is it possible that...
I think the common goal right now, first
is
things
to push
first,
those people out?
No, well, to stabilize our economy first. I think
that's your common goal. Some people don't want the economy stable. I hope you know that.
No, those are just a few of us. Just a few, believe me, just a few of us. But when you talk to the average Nigerian, they just want our economy to be stable. You understand? So people keep talking about what happened, the prices of things in the 80s, in the 70s. So it's like, okay, if you can't give us better, let's go back there. Yeah. So
you think so? Do you agree with her?
Yeah.
Ask me a question. No, don't be putting me on the spot. Of course, so they might not be able to use the word better economy, but the kind of responses they will give you all ties back to
the common
having
man,
good economy.
Yes.
So yeah, do you have a question for me?
I don't have a question.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I don't have a question for you. Let me bring it out again.
I had the answer for you, but it's okay.
If you had the answer, please say the answer.
Since you cannot say the question, let's continue.
Let's see.
But in terms of communication and getting Nigeria right, this is not even about the people we have in government now. This is also for those who would come in. I mean, we are getting ready for elections. Let's not deceive ourselves that there's anything really happening until 2023. You know how in corporate organizations, the C-suite members and all that, they undergo something we call media training. And this is just because when they have to face the media or talk to the people that are supposed to be consumers of the product, there are words that they should be able to use. There are words they should understand that they cannot use. The communication has to be clear. It has to be able to put the company and the organization...
The right motivation out there. And
thank you. And they go through this trainings. I just really hope that our leaders can begin to understand that first and foremost they are there to serve us, and that because you are serving these people and therefore our common good, there are things you shouldn't say. There are ways you should carry yourself. There are conversations that you shouldn't just be reacting to but leading. It still takes me back to what our president said when he was asked what comes to mind for 2023 election. I mean, I have been laughing, but trust me, behind that laughter, it's mind-boggling that I've not heard any sitting president ever say that.
How can you say a succession plan?
Even if you want to pretend, maybe you are tired, maybe you have seen a lot.
The problem was the question that was asked. You're asking somebody about what's coming next when the person doesn't know what's happening now.
You have made it worse. Akin Kasookoo is an expert in growing corporate revenue through creating and leading high-performance customer service teams. He has an extensive experience in the strategic implementation of customer relationship management environment framework and systems. He is an innovative, transformational leader with a vast contact center management experience in rapid growth market. He wears many hats, and one of which is a politician.
I didn't know. I apologize.
And he joined us live in studio. Thank you so much.
This is not how we do. Should have told us.
Wait, let me bring in our guest.
Sir, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir.
But thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this conversation is not new, and the reason I think you are a perfect match for the conversation, and I'll tell you why, is because if we understand how success works, in a small circle, there are principles to success, and if you can get it right at that small scale, you can just upscale it to a larger place. Communication remains one of the biggest problems that we have in governance in Nigeria. It's a big problem. What Elsie said, sometimes some of our leaders carelessly say things, right? I don't even think that they think through those things before they say it. And there's so much power when we come together as a people. The youth also, we have a big problem, right? Because the kind of narrative we're pushing out there, saying that we want to get rid of the old people, let them, their time, they've expired and all of that, that is also very wrong, because upon the, your agenda is dead on arrival, because these people already, because it seems like they know your mission, so they put a barricade, they make sure that anything that would smell that success to what that your goal is would not even see the light of day. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, what are we getting right in terms of, I don't think we're getting anything right, but what should we be looking out for? Because we're not getting anything right in terms of harnessing, because there's so much power in coming together, and there's so much power in communicating and connecting with the right sources to be able to build. We all agree that we need a new Nigeria, but as I mentioned earlier, we don't have that goal yet. We don't have a clear written down goal that this is our mission and this is how we want to go about it. So what are we doing, or what should we be doing to get this thing right if we're looking for a new Nigeria?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, in your midst. I think women are taking over, actually, because everywhere I look, women are driving the agenda.
Thank you.
I think Nigerians all want communication. We want to communicate. We're a very communicative, type of people. And back in 2001, you guys were too young then, when the GSM was introduced to Nigeria.
I was a university.
There you go.
I
You
was a
were
university.
quite young. I don't even think you were able to acquire
I got
a mobile
one. My
phone.
mother
You did?
got one from
I
Okay.
had one.
How much was it?
It was very
Well, my
expensive.
SIM card
The
was
SIM card was about
20,000 naira.
20K.
There you
Yeah,
go.
mine was 40K.
There you go. Now, those were the days when people were lining up the street
Yes.
just to get, a communications gadget, to get a SIM. And it just kind of showed those who wanted to come and invest thought that there was no market, in Nigeria. In fact, they felt that maybe there might be 1 million subscribers in about 10 years, And I remember working in one particular outlet because I was one of the pioneers in those days. And they actually broke down the door, to get in so that they could actually purchase this. Now, I think the United Nations has made data access a human right, okay? So you shut off all the communications gadgets in Nigeria today, and you'll see that there's going to be a riot, an almighty riot. So the one thing that actually connects us, is communications, right? Now, when you talk about, so we've actually got that right. When communications was opened up in the space, and then different players were allowed to come in the private sector, we have gotten the private sector right in Nigeria. I mean, I remember growing up and there was only one TV station. Here we are in Pulse TV, and there are different others, coming about. I think that's right. We're also allowing people to express themselves. So I think the fact that people can curse and abuse and what have you and all that is a wonderful thing, because if you vent it all up inside you, and you're going to bring it out, it could be very explosive. So I think we've got that right. I think the fact that there's a plethora of media organizations, media houses, allows Nigerians to talk. So let's have our say. Okay. So Nigerians definitely want that. We're getting that very right. I'm a passionate lover of Nigeria. I'm a proud Nigerian, but I would consider that I'm a humble individual. But I love Nigeria. You know, Nigeria has beautiful women, you know, like you guys. So it's a wonderful space. It's a wonderful entity. No expatriate that I know that has come to Nigeria, worked in Nigeria, hasn't had fantastic things to say about this place. So I don't think we should diss it. I think Nigeria is a wonderful place, and we're getting a lot right. Yeah.
So what are the things you're getting wrong? Because I am in love with Nigeria as well. I love Nigeria. And I'm chanting and hoping that Nigeria will get to where we want it to be, right? But to get to that point, we also need to understand where our problems lie and begin to find solutions. So if you're going to access it based on, I mean, your level of experience and all you have said, what would you say we are getting wrong, rather, as a people, and of course, from up above them?
Well, you described me as a politician. I describe myself better as a societician. Okay. Yes, and I have a political ideology called societism. And it has to do with the idea of recognizing that society is made up of different clusters. You know, you have the microcosms of society. And therefore, you can't treat society as one blob. All right, you've got to be able to take the time to understand the different elements of society. So if you say the youth, there is no amorphous group called the youth. You know, within this age band of 13, you know, all the way up, you've got teenagers. You know, right up to 19, there's teenagers. They've got different aspects and different ways of looking at life. So that's one thing we haven't gotten right. We haven't gotten a proper census, you know, that enables us to actually understand in terms of the quantum of who we have. We don't really know the population. So that's one wrong thing already. And people have gotten the wrong idea around population because you're using it to kind of manipulate things and whatever. But what's wrong is that you can't plan if you don't have the right numbers, you know. So that's definitely one thing wrong. Democracy is also, in my definition, in my societal definition, government by eligible members of the population through elected representatives. Okay, I'll take that again. Government through eligible members of the population through elected representatives. So all of us who are eligible should be managing government through proxies, all right, who are a thing. So you get it wrong when you don't care who your proxy is. And let's say you don't even care who your proxy is. So you're allowed to make mistakes, okay? So you made a mistake, the wrong person got in. Then you have every right to take that person out of the equation. And then you put somebody else in. And that's the beauty about democracy. Yeah. So we've also gotten that wrong by collectively not participating in it and saying, well, you know, let somebody else fix it. So Nigerians truly are described as people who love to have a good time. And whilst that's a wonderful thing, it's also to our detriment. Because we, you know, by Thursday, Friday, we're preparing for let the good times roll. You know, Saturday, we're in full good time mode. So when you offend us, we really just declutter ourselves and our minds by going to have a good time.
So the good time is part of the problem.
It's a problem.
A good time is a problem.
Because you know, there's that conversation that when you push the goats to the wall, you know, they say if you push Nigerians to the wall, instead of turning around like the goats to attack, we bore a hole into the wall and we keep going. Yes, I mean, you've never heard that. No, I've heard that. But let me come to you, Manny.
Yes, I would like to add to the question that Elsie asked. Elsie asked you what all the things that we were doing wrong. But you said something before she asked her question. You talked about the thing that we're getting a few things right. What are the things that we're getting right?
The private sector is right. I mean, today, there are over 200 fintechs in Nigeria, and these fintechs are about people. And I'm talking about in the Nigerian space.
Growth.
I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today in the space that I'm playing, which is cloud telephony, if there wasn't that kind of opportunity and the talent wasn't there, to be able to do it. Yeah, so all the way from the early days of when the telecoms came in, that that explosion of the ability to, and then it really empowered so many industries to operate. You can't operate as we do today without having a fantastic and buoyant telecoms.
But I want to ask a question, because you seem to be forgetting something.
Yeah.
That one government policy can mess up this entire structure that you say that we have gotten right. Case in point, Twitter. A wrong tweet gone bad that was deleted, and all of a sudden we celebrated 1 year, right? It's not up to a year yet. Well, we're almost a year of the ban. This is supposed to be a communication platform. If a government does not understand the freedom to communicate, the freedom to express, so how are you saying that we're getting it right? Because yes, private sector is doing well, praise the Lord. But something can happen tomorrow, and the person in charge of the affairs of the country can just say, you know what, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this person. Pull them down. And this is what we see, and that's why we don't even have companies we don't have sustainability in this part of the country. So how are we getting it right? Because anything can go wrong.
You're absolutely right. And that's something you've gotten right by hitting it on the head. And why I'm involved now in being a societist is that I want us to take preventive measures. And the preventive measures is this. We've seen what calamity looks like, right? We don't want calamity anymore. So what we need to do now is to get the right people, the right proxies, in place to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Now, my dream of Nigeria, my most basic dream for this country is that we must have 24/7 electricity. I think that in the year 2022, if we don't have 24/7 electricity to talk about, we're in serious mess, So we have to, and there's no reason why we can't have things. I stayed in Ghana for several months, not one blink. I went to Zimbabwe.
But they say Ghana is a small country.
Okay.
Our leaders, we have an excuse for everything.
Oh, yeah. So I went to Zimbabwe, not a blink, I spent a week there. I went to Rwanda.
Same thing.
So ultimately, at the end of the day, it's telling me that who we put in charge of whatever isn't doing what they should be doing. We're getting that wrong. We're massively getting our leadership wrong. Now, the sad thing about the leadership aspect and story, is that if we had incompetent people that we put in leadership, you could excuse them, all right? You could say, they don't know what they're doing. But you've got very, very sharp people in these positions.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well-educated
yeah.
and all that. So that is the tragedy. And so what it then means to me is that when you're hiring someone for your company, and you're looking at their credentials and whatever, and you bring them in, you're hiring them because of what you know about them, right? They've got a first-class degree and all that kind of, you bring them in. Then it turns out that they don't care. So they're not pulling their weight, they're not doing whatever. That's the situation that we're in, And a lot of these people, what is even sadder, is that a lot of people who are in government, who are in leadership, are young people like you. So that makes it even worse, because what sustains government, why government hasn't collapsed and capitulated and say, we don't know how to, it's because they've got people who are running and pulling the levers, and they're young. Tell me any MDA that you want to point out, you'll find young, capable hands there.
Yeah.
But they've either given up on the country as a whole, and then it's now, I'm doing it for me. It's not about for the country.
So let's take a break. Let's take a break, because that word you said, for the love of country or for the country, is, I think, the big issue that we have. But we'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, we're having an amazing chat with Akin on leveraging the power of connection, collaboration, and communication for a new Nigeria. Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. So I like that part where you said that they do not have that love for country. So Now you're talking about, what did you call them? Proxies, right?
Yeah.
I believe in, now I know that it's not just enough for you to own a PVC. You must have that power to be able to decide who even goes to the polling unit in the first place. So that's why we are getting more and more people to go and be part of political parties where they can be decision makers, right? That collaboration, how do you see it playing out in probably 2023? Then Elsie, I think you have a question. What do you think, if we get it right, how do you think that will play out in terms of final selections for our leaders?
Okay, so it starts with the desire. It's your desire to want certain things.
Yeah.
That my desire is I want to see 24/7 electricity, and I know it's possible. Okay, and at the end of the day, what is it going to take? It's going to take some radical ideas and some radical people who want to get it done. There's no reason why local governments should not have alternative energy working. We don't have to start waiting for a whole national grid, and all the years it's going to take. So I want to see electricity. I want to see potable water running out of a tap, because in 2022, I feel embarrassed. Much as I love Nigeria, there's certain things that embarrass me about Nigeria. And if it didn't have the competence, capability, and whatever, you could, say, yeah, that's fine. But it's got people who can do this stuff, all right? But they're just not allowed to do it. So what people like us have to do is that we have to collaborate to then make sure that we get those people. We want to decide who becomes the ambassador to London, to the UK. Right? We want to decide who's the ambassador to the US. That's a decision for us.
We just don't want to watch them.
We've allowed the proxy to decide that, all right? So now we're saying, okay, you know what? You've had your turn, all right? You've had your 20 years, and, 20 years ago I was here. Now I'm kind of like there. Now I'm gray, So, hey, you know what? I'm not going to wait till I'm starting to use a walking stick to then start to see some things come into play. So people have to sort of now get with it, right? And know what time it is. That look, all the jokes and whatever that we've been playing around with. It's now time to say, hey, who gets to decide who's the Minister of Energy? All right? Who's the Minister of Petroleum? And you're talking petroleum. 8 years from now, the UK is no longer going to be selling petrol cars.
Fossil fuels are going out. Yeah.
Right? They're bringing driverless cars into the world, for goodness sake. So Nigeria is going to be a dumping ground for cars that are, petrol fired and what have you. Then what happens to all our petrol stations and all the guys?
What happens to them?
So we want to put proxies who are going to be thinking, right?
Future.
Because the idea behind having a proxy and a representative, please, you go and do the thinking for me. All right? I've seen your credentials and then whatever. I know you can do it. Therefore, please go there, do the thinking, and make it happen. So we don't have a choice anymore. And when you talk about people going into all these political parties and whatever, I wouldn't give that advice. Because then if you're saying just go to any of these parties, then you're in effect saying let the status quo remain. Yeah. And I've heard people say to me, well, look, we'll just get a lot of people going in there. They'll change it from within and all that kind of stuff. And I say, well, okay. Yes, they will change it from within if you've got 20 years. All right? Put a lot of people in, and through the system, yes, they can change the system. But guess what? We've thrown away the time that we had. We don't have that luxury. Now you've got to get radical players and a radical aligned behind a party that is radical and is going to get the thing done, because it has to. These guys have gotten so big in the stomach, all right? They fed fat. There is no incentive for them to change their ways because they've been doing it for 20 years. You're going to tell someone who's lived a certain way, 20, and it's paid him, is riding Rolls Royces and all that, oh, guess what? Now it's time to change.
Do it a better way. Yeah.
Right? No. Then they were deceiving ourselves.
I like what you say, how we have to just be radical about it, I also believe that when you go in, you can change it from within. You can actually change it from within, but changing it, from the outside is kind of difficult, especially if we are speaking different languages. We're talking about communication now. So how do we do these things? How do we come together and work together if we're speaking different languages? If in 2022 we are still tribalistic, we're still talking about a leader coming from the north or from the south or from the east or from the west. We're not looking about who is capable of doing something. We're still talking about tribe. How do we change? Are we communicating?
Okay. You know what? You see, when somebody says, when they're using, it's about who is shouting loudest. If you have two parties who you consider to be, the parties, and they're saying, we're going to zone it here, and we're going to zone it there. And then Nigerians are putting their hands on their heads, saying, yay, they've zoned it, they're not playing thing. Do you have to vote for the parties? No, you don't. They can do whatever they want to do, all right? It's a free world, it's democracy. People can make a decision. They can say, hey, we want to have the big Z. That for us is our X factor, Let them do what on earth they want to do. Nigerians make it sound as if whatever these guys decide is what is going to bind the whole of us country.
What do we do?
So let's wake up. Please, let's wake up.
My body is itching me.
I mean, I have a question, but let me not get into this zoning thing because it's a complicated conversation. But I'm taking us back a bit to the private sector, and it's one of the areas that you said we have gotten right here. And you mentioned fintech, and I can tell you that some of these fintechs have been burned, right? From this government and policies and all that. And the reason they are surviving is what I think both of you have mentioned it as one of our weak points as well. The fact that you push us to the wall and we are hitting hard and we're still going deeper and finding ways. That is one of the reasons that these people are surviving, because even when these policies are not favorable, they find ways around it to continue thriving, right? And then if you then take it back to what you said regarding the people we have in government, right? The person who came to mind is the Minister for Housing and Fashola. Before he got into that, there is this video that went viral one time when he was talking about electricity, and he said, I think he said it's not going to take him up to a year or something to sort it out, and now he's there, right? The English he was there at some point. And I think the taking out even happened after that video came back out, and I don't know the conversation they had. But we cannot say that man is not competent, right? And you used a phrase, which I wrote down, where you said, not allowed to do the job. Do you want to talk about those things that are not allowing them to do the job? And how do we get to the point where we know that if someone who is competent gets into that seat, because this is no longer a case of they are not competent. Like you said, I think we have a lot of competent people in certain positions. Let's forget about but we have a lot of them, right? How can they begin to do their job and we're not having conversations by the sides or by the corner where we're talking about, oh, there is a cabal, oh, there is a godfather, oh, there's a this that is making these good jobs not to come through? Because like you said, electricity, power, back to the private sector. If they tell you how much they spend daily to run that business that we're even saying is successful, then I don't know if successful would be part of the conversation, right? So how can we get to the point of, even the good ones that are there, how can they do their job?
Great question. I think you have a political program, right? And you have got to start unpacking what governance really, means. What are the components of governance? So governance is not just who is the minister. You have the MDAs, you have the ministry, you have the agencies, you have all those departments. Then you have the people downline who are now the executives of all of those people. So you could, in one fell swoop, be talking about 3,000 persons, okay, who make it all happen. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, that is why I say that, you see, the change can't be through the ones that have not been able to do it over 20 years. Because what happens is this, is that when they get elected, you have the 36 ministers, and then you have the odd 36 who are the juniors, ministers and state and whatever. They're chosen by the people that we've given the proxy. Okay? So we elect, then they now go ahead and they do what they want. So they appoint. Okay? So we have given them the control to do that. That is why, so the Minister of Energy or whatever sits there, he backs out the thing, but the guy who is his junior and whatever isn't going to carry out that whatever because he's been chosen by some other group who already have their own interest in whatever. So we're caught in this trap. So the way that we need to get ourselves out of the trap is that you have to take the dirty water out, okay, and bring clean water in and take a whole different bath, all right? And you can only do that by having a new political platform, all right, an alternative political platform that is going to bring in the Calvary, right? Because, and the Calvary is is the presidential and thing there that, including the legislative houses.
It's a new mindset.
So I like the fact that you're talking about that new mindset, new political party. You know, I think the reason Nigerians are stuck between two parties, right, over the years, or they've been stuck within two parties over the years, is they feel like it's a waste of my time, you know, to go and vote that third party. Because first of all, they do not have the strength. They cannot match these political parties in terms of structure. They can't match these political parties. Financially, they cannot match these political parties. So it's almost a waste of my time to take my vote to go and give it to an unknown party. Sure. I think that's what the majority of Nigerians would always do all the time. So how are these other parties, how are they communicating this vision? So it is beyond that, so people see the end goal. Because you see, there's a big communication gap, even amongst these people that say they want to form a third leg that is as strong, because it cannot be an alternative. It has to match it, power for power, structure for structure, strength for money for money. That's the only way we can actually push it. So how are you smiling? how do we do that?
Okay, so in strategy, you look at your strength and you look at your weaknesses. But in particular, the other guy has weaknesses too. Sure. Okay, there's nothing that stands that doesn't have its weak spots. So that's what the game is about. You look at the weak area of this particular opponent.
Existing structures, yes.
Yeah, and then you go for their weak juggler. Now, money in Nigerian politics is actually an overrated thing.
Really?
Yeah, because the money has been derailed by corruption. Money that they're trying to spread has been derailed by corruption within those parties. Because the guy who's given 100 million to now go and spread it around says, you know, hey, I'm not a mumu. I didn't sign any sort of certificate of value. So the guy says, all right, 100, I'll spread 10. I keep 90.
At the end of the day,
okay,
money is not
so
working.
the money ain't getting to where it was designed to get to. And there's no way they can guarantee it. All right? If you're sending her, you know, she looks very, very dodgy to me. And you say, hey, look, yes, make sure that we spread it. She tells you, say, look, you know, we have to mobilize. You know, they use this term, mobilize, all the thing. And when I started getting involved, I started understanding, you know, what these guys and their language. So I said, mobilize what? You know, can you kind of break the budget down for me? You know, how exactly do you want to spread this, whatever it is? And it's all baloney, okay? So at the end of the day, what now happens is that when you look at the statistics and data, and you guys in the media, you know how important data is. When you start unpacking the data, Lagos State in the last elections, 2019, was just 19% of registered voters that voted. Yeah. And very, that 19%, conventional wisdom has it that it's even an inflated number. All right? Padded, this and that, whatever, and all. So it could be probably 10%.
Absolutely.
So what happened to the money? All right? Either those who got some of the money decided, hey, I'm pocketing this in, but there's no way I'm going to vote for you guys. All right? So that money went straight into the pocket and didn't have any effect. The money didn't get to, you know, wherever it was meant to get to. And some people who don't even like them. All right? So we know from statistics that only about 33% of the whole country of registered voters. Right? So you've got a majority out there.
So
sort
how
of saying,
do we communicate
So it is.
that
So
vision?
so yes, they have the money, which to a large extent has been stolen, but that money is not going to have the impact that they want. So don't be scared by the money. All right. So the money is not doing whatever they think it is. It's not about the money. The structures that they're talking about are again a myth. Because when you're talking structure, you're talking about people, human beings. If they really genuinely had the structure and people really truly loved them, they'd be showing it in the voting. If you have structure, then why are you fraudulently garnering
elections?
Why are you fraudulently garnering the votes? So that tells all of us that are watching that these guys don't have the structure. It's all a rent-a-crowd. So you see crowds at the stadium and you think it's them. So they've lied to us.
They've successfully passed that narrative that they have it all put together.
Yes, they fooled us, But guess what? Now suddenly we're waking up. Now suddenly we have social media. Now, people who are really able to in fact, some of them too are telling us, don't mind them. This is what's happened. This is how we did this and we did that. So, and if you look at INEC, it seems to me that they've lost control of INEC. Because at the end of the day, some of the stuff that's come out in this, in the new Electoral Act proposed, that's been passed, it's radical stuff. Radical.
It will create a lot of change. And clean up some of the systems.
Stuff, and a number of those guys are not happy. Like, what? I'm sure they're calling the guy and say, "Are you crazy? Why did you put this in there?"
Oh my goodness, we have run out of time.
We have to bring you back.
Yes, so please, I hope you come back. But the truth is, I like what I'm hearing. And I hope that
I have a lot of questions from what I'm hearing.
Yes, honestly. And I'm hoping that, because this is not just a conversation, it's actually to wake up the people that are sleeping. It's to wake a lot of young people.
They must be woke.
Yes, we have to. All that when you're speaking woke on social media, you're not woke yet until you understand what he's saying. But thank you so much, Akin Kasookoo. We had a fantastic conversation. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Elsie.
Thank you. And may I just say that I'd like to invite all of you to the African Democratic Congress, which is a radical platform, and we're going to change this country.
So we would look at your document and see if it aligns with our vision. But before we go, Penny Tree in partnership with Ways. Remember, we talked to you last year a lot about how we want to empower young people. So in partnership with Ways, we'll be reserving 20 slots for something that they call the PEN Exclusive Associate Program. So it's all for you to sign up. All you need to do is just mention that you watched it on Ways and sign up and stand a chance to win, I think, about 200,000, over 200,000 naira. I mean, we need all the money we can gather. So this is in partnership with Ways. And also today is one of our anchors, our 13th anniversary, Noma Efanga. They can pull up a picture quickly. So we just want to say happy anniversary to Noma Efanga and Efanga, my friend. All right, so do ensure you follow us at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our social media engagement, because there are so many things we say or we do on social media that we don't say on TV. So follow all our social media engagement and invite your family and friends to watch. He just mentioned the party. It would be wise for you to go and Google, right? African Democratic Congress. African Democratic Congress. Go and Google. We have to start looking for the right platforms where we can support and pull in all the weight we need to muster for a new Nigeria. So if you missed today's quote, here it is again. No one can whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra to play it. It's very, very powerful. For you to have a beautiful song, it's teamwork. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.